The New York Giants have completely turned the franchise around, and they have their new head football coach, John Harbaugh. Ladies and gentlemen, we got the job done. Welcome back to Bet the Over. I'm your host, Kevbo, and in this episode, we're going to talk John Harbaugh and his contract, and we're going to get into what he brings to this team. So let's dive right into it. So, as everyone knows, the news broke on Saturday this past week that John Harbaugh officially signed with the Giants. He verbally agreed on, I think it was Thursday last week. And it took up until Saturday to completely finalize the deal. Now, I don't know about anyone else, but I was getting a little bit nervous each day that passed by. I don't know exactly what the dispute was because he verbally agreed. However, I think it has something to do with him delivering his dir- directly going to John Mara for decisions on the team. No coach in Giants history has ever done that. However, now John Harbaugh is going to report directly to John Mara. He can almost step over Joe Shane. I mean, I'm sure they're still going to communicate and talk everything out. Now, another big thing about this whole contract was there definitely seems to be a little tension between John Harbaugh and Joe Shane. They both are the CEO type. John Harbaugh definitely wants his team to be built the way he sees it, and Joe Sheen might disagree with him on certain things, and that could be one big factor why the contract took so long to officially pen to paper get signed. John Harbaugh, he's gonna bring he's gonna completely change the culture of the New York Giants. It's no longer gonna be we did good enough, however we lost. Harbaugh's standards are extremely high, higher than any of the past five coaches, going back to probably Tom Coughlin. He's the only coach that is comparable to Harbaugh in the signing. This is definitely the biggest news the Giants have had probably since I don't even know. You could say 2022 since they won the wild card round, or some people even say the Super Bowl because they got their guy. They got the number one head coach that hit free agency this year. And there's a lot of good coaches out there still. I mean, I know Stefanski's got signed, Stefanski, the former head coach of the Browns, but Tomlin's supposedly out there, although I've heard reports he doesn't want to coach anymore. Recently added to the free agency coach I guess pool is Sean McDermott. I kind of disagreed with that Buffalo firing. However, he is out there. And John Harbaugh was by far the best candidate. He was at the top. Every team wanted to interview him. And the Giants almost didn't let him leave the building because they wanted him so bad. Shout out to Chris Mara, brother of John. John is currently he's sick, as we all know. Hopefully he gets well soon. But the brother actually recruited John, brought him to a restaurant, sat him down with Joe Shane. And this past weekend, John Harbaugh had his official first press conference with the New York media. And I don't know about you guys, but it looked like John Harbaugh was all smiles. He looked like a great mood. Granted, I didn't watch him too many interviews of him in Baltimore. However, he just looked so excited. He was stoked. His wife was there, his parents were there. Everyone seemed very happy. It was a very light mood. And you can just tell his presence is so different from any other head coach that's come in. The the excitement that's built around this team just from this signing. They did have their rookies in Dart, Scatterboo, and even Abdul Carter, which gave them a little bit of hope earlier in the season. But now it looks like they got their coach, their quarterback, and they have a young core on this team at important positions. They got a franchise left tackle in Andrew Thomas, who, when he stays healthy, he's I think the second best in the league. Maybe Trent Williams is above him, and Trent's got I think 6 years on him. Trent's up there in age. I don't know the exact age difference. And then you have Andrew Thomas. I truly think he's the second best left tackle in the league. You can even argue the best. It's more just his availability is what brings him down. So you got a franchise left tackle. You got a quarterback, which is the hardest thing to find, and which John Harbaugh said was one of his main factors for coming here in Jackson Dart. He's young. He's exciting. He played extremely well. His only knock was that he didn't slide and he was putting himself out to in harm's way, and that could be coached out of him. especially with a coach the caliber of John Harbaugh. So we got that. We have Abdul Carter, Brian Burns on the outside pass rushers. The linebackers need a little bit of work. The secondary needs work. I know this day, I think Wednesday and Thursday of this week, the 21st today, I know John Harbaugh and Joe Shane were talking about looking at their coming up free agents. They got a couple guys that you would like to have back, but the cap is going to be tight. They might have to cut a couple people. Some of the big free agents are Illuminor. They got Jermaine Illuminor, a right tackle. They got Wandale Robinson, who just broke 1,000 yards and had his best season of the year, and he's pretty young. We got to see what they do with them. It's going to be tough to sign both of them. Then you have Cordell Flott, who was our best corner this year. He played better than Paulson Adebo. He played better than Drew Phillips, better than Deontay Banks. He's going to be an important piece, and we got to factor or we got to monitor what the situation is with him. Micah McFadden, although he did get hurt earlier in the season, I noticed a significant drop off in our run defense once he left. The Giants were ranked one of the worst run teams in the league. So we got to see what he does, what they do with him. And then I think there's a couple other pieces. There's other guys also. I think the right guard, Van Roten, is a free agent as well. So, like I said, there's a lot of pieces that are going to be interesting to see where the Giants go. Harbaugh has a direction, which is one of the biggest things I picked up in his interview, is that he sees what this team needs to get over the hump. He's been doing it for 18 years. He knows what is necessary to win football games. Whereas Brian Daboll, although he looked good in his first year, kind of seemed like he didn't exactly have a clear vision like John Harbaugh did. So I have faith in him. Him and Shane are going to work together. We got to analyze their whole relationship because, like I said before, they're both kind of the CEO type, and they might butt heads a little bit, but that's kind of expected in a high stress business like the NFL. Another thing I noticed during the interview, um, so obviously the excitement in the building was evident. He was all smiles. He was talking a lot of football, but one of the biggest things that I picked up on is that the Giants players were in the building watching his interview. Now, I don't think it was mandatory, probably not, but that just shows that the players are just as excited as the fans and the media for him coming here. I know Jameis Winston was there. He was cracking jokes. You didn't see the players that were there, but he was talking about Jameis Winston, how he played against him a couple of years ago, and Jameis tore it up. Classic, famous Jameis in the stadium. Hopefully, he's our backup this upcoming year. So he's a great team player. But there were other players there too. I'm assuming Jackson Dart was there. And like I said before, Dart was one of the biggest reason Harbaugh signed here. In the interview, Harbaugh said that Jackson Dart was actually wanted to. Jackson Dart spoke so highly or intelligently of the game of football that he made John Harbaugh want to run through a wall, and that was just funny to see. Harbaugh is up there in age, but he's definitely going to be hands on with the players. I mean, he's out there squatting with his team. He said a lot in his interview that he only wants players that are obsessed with the game. During the season, your only thought should be football. The entire world revolves around football, the NFL, and the season. And he said, if you're not all about football, we'll ship you off somewhere else. And I think of players like Abdul Carter, who has had some questionable, I guess, participation in the meetings and how locked in he was during the season. Harbaugh will speak to him and he will get him in the right mindset because I truly think Abdul Carter is underrated. I know a lot of people just look at the stacks, the sacks and the stats. I combine stats and sacks. They only look at the sack numbers and say who was a bust, even though he did start to pick it up towards the end of the season. I think one speaking to or one off season with John Harbaugh will get Abdul Carter in the right mindset to get into the next season and build off what he ended off the season with. And then there's a lot of fun pieces to play around with. Cam Scatterbo, I'd love to be in a room, a fly on the wall with John Harbaugh and Cam Scatterbo talking football. That must be the most insane conversation ever. But I'm kind of ranting at this point. I think every fan, even the media, the coaches, the Giants are back. They're finally in a spot where you feel like going into this next season, they can make a run, at least get into the playoffs because Harbaugh has done it. I think 14 of his 18 seasons with the Baltimore Ravens. And the Giants did not cheap out on John Harbaugh. They are paying him a pretty penny to get him here. His contract details 5 years, 100 million. It makes him the second highest paid head coach in the NFL. There's no reason for you to not believe that the Giants don't have the utmost faith in John Harbaugh to get them over the hump. They wouldn't give some random scrub the second highest contract in the NFL behind Andy Reid if they didn't believe he can get them to the promised land. So overall, like I said, everyone's excited. His press conference was so fun to watch. He was smiling, cracking jokes. Joe Shane needs a shot of Casamigos immediately. That's the tension I'm talking about. He was all froze up, stiff as a board, standing up there. And there's a lot of like body language that's kind of indicating that he is uncomfortable. But I mean, if Joe Shane hires Harbaugh and Harbaugh gives the Giants or brings the Giants to 9, 10 wins, nobody cares about what happened previously with Joe Shane. They're all going to be like, all right, he did the right thing. He got the right coach, even though there has been some sketchy decisions made by Joe Shane. You think of Brian Dable. I mean, not Brian Dable. You think of Saquon Barkley, Daniel Jones. He did handle the Dayball situation a little weird, even though he said they are good friends. But if the Giants start winning games, no one will care about the previous 2, 3 years with Joe Sheen and the mistakes he's made. Like I say frequently all the time to my friends and family, winning heals everything. When your team starts winning games, it doesn't matter what's going on behind the scenes. If they're winning, nobody cares. That's all anyone cares about is to win. And the second you start losing, that's when all the reports come out, all the problems come out, and everything gets exemplified or emphasized, I guess you could say, or magnified. So overall, like I said, great hire. I'm so happy. This upcoming offseason is going to be so exciting. Fresh blood, new start, but like I said, there's pieces in place, and I'm just ecstatic to see what John Harbaugh's got to say in his next couple interviews, and I want to see him hit the ground running and bring this team back to relevancy because let's be honest, the Giants the past 10 years, besides 2 fluke seasons, have been irrelevant and the laughing stock of the NFL. So thanks for tuning in, guys. Like, comment, subscribe. I'm going to try and upload at least once a week, maybe twice a week if any breaking stories comes out. And then next couple of weeks, it's going to be interesting to see the offensive and defensive coordinator search. I know Todd Monken is tied to John Harbaugh, and that's probably the top candidate for OC if he doesn't get a coaching job somewhere else. So I'll keep you guys up to date. If any news breaks, I'll update you within the day or so. So thanks for tuning in. And remember, bet the over.